T-minus 3, 2, 1, 0.
Hey friends, welcome to another week of the Launch Sequence podcast, and we've got an exciting week for you. It is Invictus week. Yes.
Woo! Yeah!
You hear how excited we are? This is the, second week of May, and it kicks us off for the year, really. This is when things finally start to speed up for CIG, particularly in the hype department. May is an important month for them, and we will get to that, that's for sure. But today, really, we're going to talk about the Idris coming into the game, which is a pretty big moment for Star Citizen. We're going to talk about just kind of Invictus week, how it's going, some of the feature development that's been going on coming from the Star Citizen Live we had, and a little change in something we like to call Blades. Their addition to the store and how that might be a problem for CIG and Star Citizen, and maybe why it's happening, because I think almost everybody, I can't say. I think a lot of people are a little concerned about it, but we will get to that. All of it will be chaptered down below for you if you'd like to skip ahead. But otherwise, we're going to start with a little introduction from my friend and I believe Launch Sequence MVP most appearances, Astro Historian / AstroPub / Paul Shelley Batman Berserker 101.
01. And it's
01.
and the Captain's Table podcast.
Yes.
Now.
From the Captain's Table podcast.
Yeah. I will not rest until I am the most featured guest on every Star Citizen live stream. So I'm about to go bother Mike for the next 17 years to get him to have me show up and just replace Croncy.
I was gonna say, like, you already do the reverse. I think you've probably had the most people on yours.
Possibly. I probably have. Yeah, just my rotation gone through. Including, apparently I discovered a couple of months ago, including several members of CIG who are now members of CIG who weren't before.
Nice.
So
that's cool.
Yeah.
There's the pipeline, everybody. If you want to work for CIG,
there is an old joke about how if you want to be a Star Citizen, if you want to work for CIG, come hang out in my chat, because like the number of chatters who've ended up being part of CIG is super high. Nice. I'm Paul. I run the AstroPub, which is a long-running channel about Star Citizen. I do space and science fiction stuff there in general, but Star Citizen is the main focus. I also run the Astro Historian, which is a lore-focused YouTube channel. Just released a video actually on the
Idris,
the lore video on the Idris. So, like, it wasn't. People have asked me, it's like, did CIG tell you it was coming out? I'm like, no, I was literally talking with Tomato, and Tomato was like, this man right here was like, do it on the Idris, and I was like, I should do it on the Idris, you know. It's
the light bulb moment.
It was, that cat, I should buy a boat meme. That was me. It was just like, oh right, everyone's talking about the Idris. I should probably do a lore video on the Idris. So that's released.
Good timing,
Yeah, you could, again, if you think about the timing, I do want to thank Tomato for that timing. So thank you, Tomato.
Thank you.
It is currently doing really well, as is expected. But I also I do a podcast called the Captain's Table Podcast, which I do on Saturdays at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific on youtube.com /@the Captain's Table Podcast and on twitch.tv/TheAstroPub. So
I go on there sometimes, mainly when I'm in a more agreeable time zone, but it's always a good time when I go on there.
I will do some special times during the summer that I'll get you, and I'll try to get Ollie and Morph on, so it's a little bit more of a.
That'd be fun. That'd be a fun talk right there.
Well, I still gotta get you and Darj together to talk about Star Citizen's ground physics. So, because I know you're both gearheads, so that's a.
That would be fun. That would be a fun one. I've been testing out the MTC. Actually, it was one of the first vehicles I guess we can talk about coming during Invictus week. It just came out, I think, today, maybe. And I was just doing a test of it. I'm actually gonna upload a gameplay video of that after this show. But it's fun. It's actually, I'm surprised. I like the way it looks in a weird way. Like, I'm not big on truck-y looking vehicles, and Grey Cat's never been a favorite of mine. But this one has like a nice look to it. I don't know. I don't really know what it is. I think whenever I like the way something looks in sci-fi, I like to just say it gives me Mass Effect vibes. It's like a cop out of like everything I like. So I'm just going to say it gives me Mass Effect vibes, dude. And it can carry some cargo, and it's a little small, and yeah, I enjoy it. Have you gotten to see it?
I haven't gotten to play it, but from what I've seen about it and in your defense, the reason why he says it gives you Mass Effect vibes, because I swear to God, Mass Effect inspired an entire genre of science fiction that wouldn't exist without Mass Effect, because they kind of, like Mass Effect 1, the Mako and all that, they all kind of sort of inspired future, like I want to say NASA rovers, or a lot of NASA designs. Like the proposed NASA rover from Mars looks like the Mako. It's just the Mako. And like like the Martian video, the Martian movie had the Mako, and what was it? The remake of Lost in Space, the Netflix one, has the Mako. It's and what this is the Mako. It's the MTC is like the Mako. So it's like, yeah, of course, it's Mass Effect. I love it, and I love it too for that same reason. It's like this nice little. It's like the Ursa's tiny little child. You know, it's the mini Ursa, and it's great. I like it.
It's a good size.
I'm definitely looking forward to seeing its role evolve as like suit lockers become more of a thing and all that sort of thing. So
yeah. I think the only thing we really need at this point, and it wasn't like this wasn't true before, but more interesting ground locations. I think we've got the locations too. We've got caves, distribution centers, outposts, towns, settlements, and like bunkers. If they can just actually make the missions at those locations work and give us enough either available loot or payment to make it worthwhile to go down there, then you've got a whole loop in like getting the vehicle on the ship and preparing the vehicle and going out, and like this is perfect for it. It's the size is perfect. It's like a Dragonfly with an interior and space for storage. And I think they're missing a really good opportunity here and just not having things having things work. Yeah. Darn. That's a rough one to miss, but it's a good vehicle. Let's turn our attention though to the big prize of the week and probably this whole event. The Idris, not Elba, no, the long awaited Aegis Idris. How long have we waited for this? 13 years?
13. Well, it wasn't released when, I don't know exactly when it was released, but I imagine it was released shortly after. So it's at least 12, if not 13 years, because we're going on year 13 for CIG. Man. So yeah, it's one of the OGs. It's one of the last OGs next to the Javelin that's released. And all I got to say, it was perfect. I think it was the launch of this thing was perfect. I was expecting a lot more buzz from CIG. Instead, they kept it quiet. Absolutely nothing. Yeah, there was leaks. Yeah, there was a lot of people saying, "Oh, well, all these things are happening. This must mean they're releasing the Idris." But it was never like no one at CIG was like, "Maybe you should look out for the Idris."
Yeah, nobody tipped their hat.
No one was doing that. No one was doing the wink, and they just shut up. There's no Idris following people around and doing. They all just shut up.
The PTU,
yeah. No one just shut up, and then even though everyone was talking about it, they dropped it. And the title of the trailer is all that you had to know for them, that they knew that was paying attention to, which was the rumors were true. That's what that's the title of the trailer, the Idris trailer. It's just the rumors were true. It's all it says. It's like,
it was fantastic. This was actually a very, very good release from CIG, and I think this is a fitting ship to actually hit it off. I think if you could take the man hours in the entire project of ships worked on in this game, the Idris would probably, maybe the Bengal would be more, but I feel like the Idris has got to be the top because of all the work for Squadron 42. How many times have they reworked this? Have they got it ready for the PU just to be, paraded around in Stanton? There's so much that has gone into this ship. I'm glad that the release itself was solid. Have you gotten to actually see it in game?
I haven't yet. I did tour it around it. I did walk around it at Invictus during the PTU. So
how's it looking? How's old Idris girl looking?
She looks fine, the same. I've been on that ship so many times now because of like the various salty Idris modes and stuff like that. It's nice to see it clean instead of with garbage everywhere. But she's big. She's big. She's thick. You can get lost in that thing. It's easy to get lost in that thing. I had completely forgotten that it had a medical bay. Like it was.
Yeah.
I saw pictures of it today, and I was like, wait, is this the first ship with a tier 1 medical bed in it? Because I think it is. I think it has a tier 1. It might have a tier 2, but I think it's a tier 1.
Doesn't the Carrack have a tier 1?
No, it has a tier 2. Carrack's tier 2.
Oh.
Unless they updated it.
No,
So-
I don't know, man. I'm confused by their whole bed play right now, honestly.
But I was gonna say it's good. It's great. It's huge. It's got a lot of shit like places on it that are clearly like role play based, but
Mhm.
you know, because it's also for Squadron more than anything. But it's really
Right.
good.
Why do you think they're releasing it? Because we've seen it so much and there's just no more surprise to it? Because they said they wanted to wait till Squadron 42, no earlier than the end of 2023.
Well, we also know what they said in the video, and what they said in the video was that
Oh, the behind the ships?
behind the ships.
Yeah, I haven't watched that yet.
So they said in the behind the ships that the reason why they released it is because the ship that they made for Star Citizen is a completely different ship from the one they made for Squadron 42.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually talked with a couple of people who look at the files a lot. And one of the things, like Darj, for instance, who often has to go into those files because he's making the models for JRDF.
Yeah.
And he said constantly, the ship in Squadron that we see is not the same ship that's in Star Citizen right now. The model is different. The interior is the same, but the exterior is completely different. So like it's almost two different ships when you look at it.
But but that's why then I'm like, okay, so did you just figure that out in the last year and a half?
I think what they did was because we know that the P was in active development as of 3 months ago, and we know that it takes them a long time to release a ship. According to execute, it's 18 months.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just half that because they already developed a lot of it. So let's just say, what is that? 9 months. So they probably were like, what are we going to release at Invictus? Because they were planning this out, August or after IAE last year. And they decided, let's go with the Idris P. And so it's clear that they had that decision probably around the same time that they finished Squadron 42's active development or whatever it was, their like feature complete development. Because this is not something you just kind of push out there. They clearly put work into it. So maybe it was a long time discussion that they just came to an agreement on. Maybe it was a spur of the moment decision, 6-9 months ago. I don't know. I don't think this is maybe me being optimistic and naive. Which I don't think this is a situation where CIG was like, money. I think it was probably more of a situation of cool ship done, show cool ship.
Yeah,
and
it is time.
It is time. Yeah, like they were waiting for more than 100 people per server. They were waiting for like a new system, and it's like we got it
for engineering.
I think they were, but then they just kind of said,
yeah, I think they were too, and I think a lot of things were, and it's just like not quite time.
Polaris, same.
I don't know. Yeah,
Polaris.
so like I was excited for the Polaris release because I was like, hey, this could herald in the change of capital ship gameplay hand in hand with engineering. But here we are 6-7 months later, and we're still kind of these are just great box runners, real good ferries. We use it for fun. Like, don't get me wrong. There's plenty you can do with these large ships that you can't do with other ships, and it's good fun. It's just like, it doesn't need to just be fun. It needs to be reliable and make sense long term. And at least right now it doesn't, because we don't see engineering. It's more me just being angry about there not being engineering. But
I'm with you there. I'm mad that there's not engineering yet.
Yeah. But then I don't know. I'm like, how much use do you think this is going to get in the PU right now?
Do you want my like optimistic, or do you want my pessimistic side? I'll go with my pessimistic, and I'll go with my optimistic.
Salt and pepper.
So I'll do the pepper first. A little spice for you. This is for orgs. This is for content creators and organizations. This is for them fighting it out in the verse and making cool videos that then market the game a little bit more, and because it's cheap. that this is the cheapest marketing they're ever going to get. They don't have to pay anybody anything. They actually get paid for it.
Yeah.
And because people have to buy the thing. And so then you can play around with it. And then someone makes a video that's like, recreating the Battle of Coruscant over our Area 18 and using this stuff, or
See, just wait for like Bed Banana's video on the Idris, and that's
when Detox and Void do their videos with like I destroyed an entire Idris with a pistol, those sorts of videos will get a lot of attention because it's a freaking frigate, man. It's a huge ship. It's a capital ship, a proper capital ship. And how many games in how many space games have a proper capital ship that you can walk around, fight on, fight over, fly, fire? Like, it doesn't exist. I can't think of them in terms of all of those. Yeah, Eve has battleships and lots of other games have battleships, but can you walk the entire length of it? So
good point.
So the pessimist in me is like, this is a marketing stunt. This was released so that marketing could, scoop out as much interest into the game as possible. But that's also me putting a lot more, giving marketing a lot more credit than I think they're due in this one. The optimist in me is like, what this is going to be used for is, I think a lot of people use it as organization base. Place where you can bring a lot of stuff so people can get together in big groups and go out mining and salvaging and exploring. So you can get large groups of people together to do all this stuff. I think it's a great central hub, still for groups, but like a great central hub for people to use for like until they get their Krakens.
Yeah,
for
a fob, almost like a mission base. It's going to be cool. I think that's something that I want to experiment with in my own org, is kind of just like, it's something we've tried to do in smaller scenarios, but it's always a little bit difficult because it's hard to get back to the ship if everybody leaves it. Obviously, we had persistence problems way back in the day, but also you just can't really find a ship that's big enough to be able to house multiple types of gameplay, salvaging, cargo, and mining and stuff. So this is going to be interesting because that's a hangar. That's a whole freaking big ass hangar that goes in the middle of this ship, and it's going to look amazing to be able to have at least just 20 people going about their day on this ship, not necessarily playing together.
Yeah. Also, the shark tooth paint is mint. If you haven't seen the shark tooth paint,
I haven't seen it. I saw a picture of it, but
it is perfect. More of this, CIG, please. Can we have more shark tooth? Can we get a shark tooth paint for the Ares, please? Your A10, please.
I want my Pisces C8R to have shark tooth paint, please.
Yes.
And flame torches on the back.
Yes. Give us the 18 fan stripe on an Idris or anything.
The Idris is the second largest player ownable ship. The Javelin would be the first, and it is still not in the game. Do you think that this is now opening the door for the Javelin possibly to come up before Squadron, or do you think that one is still way off in the distance?
I think the difference between the Javelin and the Idris is I don't know how much of the Javelin is walkable and playable in Squadron. So there may be large sections of the Javelin which just doesn't exist yet. So if that's the case, then probably not until after Squadron. But if it is the case where they kind of modeled the whole thing out, then yeah, I think that you'd probably see it beforehand. But I don't think there's going to be nearly as much call for the Jav as there is for the Idris. Honestly, I see more people looking for the Kraken and the Orion than anything else. Yeah, because the Javelin is huge. It's like the Javelin is like 2 times the size of an Idris. It's much bigger than an Idris, and the Idris is already so big that I don't know how many people you can get to do gameplay on.
Yeah, like, dude, the actual, we don't do anything in the game right now to make gameplay happen. Everything's just kind of handed to us. The amount of effort it's going to take for an Idris or a Pioneer or any of these large ships to not just run efficiently but be profitable, because it's not like you can just always find a mission that's catered for your Idris-sized group that may or may not be available in the area that you're in. So if you take the Idris out, then you have to decide, well, okay, the costs of taking this out, we had to pay for the fuel to maybe get out of atmosphere. It's possible that you're paying costs at hangars to furnish capital ships. That might be something that they do just to limit the way these work. But then it's also like munitions. If you go out and you start taking light combat missions, you got people running through all of your ballistics. You're getting more and more wear on your components. You use like a torpedo or two. It's like you actually have to justify all of that.
Mm-hmm. It's expensive. It's definitely not going to be a ship that I see a lot of people use outside of special events. As much as, because the other thing is that the reports I've heard is that it's a boat. It is a boat. You cannot handle this thing. It is
good.
You sort of suggest where it goes, and it kind of meanders that direction.
Basically, an aircraft carrier, right? It's supposed to be super.
So
janky.
as a result, I don't think you're really going to have to worry about this ship being like one person flying around with the railgun and being like, I can destroy everyone, or the laser be like, I can destroy everyone. It's like, just stay out of its arc. Like it's like a toddler with the access to a bazooka. Yeah, the toddler can move towards you, but it's or toddler like a geriatric on a cane with a walker with a bazooka. Yes, if that
very strong geriatric.
Yes, if that geriatric man turns enough to faces walker towards you and pushes the button, you're dead. Just stay out of his arc of fire and you'll be fine. And it's not that he's walking at death's space. So like it's very, very, he could keel over at any moment. You'll be fine. Same thing with the Idris. Like you can just get away from his fire. You'll be fine.
Yeah, I do think that players are also going to need to accept that like you're going to be uncomfortable at some points. You're going to jump into a situation in which there might be turrets or a capital ship or enemies that make you feel unsafe and vulnerable. And that's okay. Just like turn around and go the other direction. Because it's going to be the kind of game where you might run into an Idris, and the whole point of they can't chase you.
Yeah. Or you could be in a situation where you're dead to rights. They have you. You can't leave. Just accept that you're dead.
Yeah.
I made a mistake. Shouldn't have done that, but I did it now. I've learned not to do that again. Yeah, that kind of situation.
It happens to me regularly.
I have a fear that that's a problem that a lot of players won't accept, which is like right now that's easy to blame bugs on things, and then when it becomes less and less easy to blame bugs on things, people will be like, well, it's unfair. It's like, of course it's unfair. It's a video game. This game was never designed to be fair. And when you can eventually earn a Idris through Wicklow, because we all know that's coming, you're going to end up with people who bought it in game. It's like, well, you can get it in game, y'all. Like, why are you? What's going on? So
yeah, and I think a lot of people also, maybe some people who are watching this honestly, if you're watching this podcast and you're not like super deep into the Star Citizen juice to know the answer to this next question, or at least have deep thoughts about it, thank you for listening or watching. But a lot of people will look at this and think, hey, this is like a $1,200 or no, they raised the price, huh? It's like $1,800 now. It's ridiculous. Oh my God, you could buy like a car. You could put a down payment on a car for that price. It's
what I get. It's what I get a month, or for half a month. That's my salary for half a month. It's a salary.
Crazy, dude. Crazy. Yeah, that's rent, right?
Yeah.
Like, so people look at that and they're like, hey, somebody just threw down a good amount of money, and yeah, they're funding the game. Don't get me wrong, guys. That's how this game gets made. But then they think about that and they're like, hey, is that just a I win button? What's your response to that?
Geriatric with a rocket launcher.
Yeah, but is there more to it than just being geriatric?
Well, one person throwing down $1,500 gives you a ship. One person throwing down $1,500 and 28 other people gives you a crewed ship. Those 28 other people could have an Aurora. It doesn't matter if they get on that ship. It's hard to like, I've always seen CIG walk the line of pay to win, and we'll get to that other part here shortly. Let's get to the other part here shortly. I should say it was they walked the line until just today, but they walked the line pretty heavily, where just because you have a powerful ship doesn't mean you win the game. It means that you have a powerful ship that you need to upgrade, you need to crew, it needs to function, because it's going to be god awful expensive to refuel this thing, let alone to get it back or for any extended period of time. So I think the fundamental answer, I think the initial answer is no, it's not pay to win. But if you already think Star Citizen is pay to win, nothing's going to change your mind on that part. I do think
it's a sliding scale. I think some people may have gone, like today might have pushed some people over the edge and be like, okay, yeah, they're there.
Yeah, but I mean, for just the Idris, no, because like,
right.
My perspective on this whole thing comes down to what's the difference between people buying an Idris now versus people getting an Idris in game in 6 months or a year. Because there will be people who join the game in a year, while the Idris is available, and find people who played the game, unlocked an Idris, have friends, maybe even went from an Aurora to an Idris with 28 of their friends in an organization. What's the difference between that person and the person who pulled out their wallet? Well, just time. That's it.
Yeah. And the interesting thing is, like, CIG will justify all this by saying, hey, the game's not finished right now, but a lot of people are playing it like it is. And they definitely sell it to people like it is at this point.
Yeah.
So
legally, it's done. But, like, that's a whole different thing, because that's a whole, like, they had a lawsuit over this, and CIG basically said we met all our obligations. That was like 2016. So it was, but yeah, they definitely treat this as if it's a finished game that they're adding to, rather than being a game in development. But it's only a game in development when they want it to be a game in development, and it's a complete game when they want it to be a complete game. They like to play that both sides. But do we want to get into that now?
Well, we're almost there. The Idris release is a good one, and I'm glad that after all this time, probably the most anticipated ship in this game's history, I would say, just because of the significance of it in Squadron. I'm glad that they had a clean launch. I'm glad they were able to do this whole surprise thing, and everybody and they could even like drop the trailer, and the rumors were true, and all that kind of stuff is that's fun. That's good for them. And honestly, I feel like that on its own would have really made right now feel like a win. And there's just a little bit of a cloud hanging over their head, and that is they've also introduced not AI blades but flight blades, and they've been specific to say that these are two different things. AI blades will be coming later, flight blades coming now. And flight blades are essentially a subcomponent for the computer, which is a component, right? In the same way that life support is a component that will have subcomponents, in the same way that the relay is a component and the fuses are subcomponents. This is just another relationship, and these blades can change both the speed and the maneuverability of, I think, like 8 to 10 specific ships in the game. And each blade is specific to each specific chassis. So not a group of ships, not a class, not a role, but every specific chassis has a specific blade that does a specific thing that can be combined with others. And they have released these.
To give an example, each Avenger version has its own blade. They don't have one blade for the Avenger. Each, like the Titan, the Stalker, and the Warlock, all have their own blades.
Yeah. So. And then they're only available for cash for a short window. Assuming that's 6 weeks, it sounds like it's.
They said summer.
They said this summer, yeah. They've been doing 6-week exclusivity on the ship releases, right?
I think so. It's usually 6 months, but
they shortened it.
They shortened it a little bit, yeah, because they dropped the max shortly after it was released. So I think they dropped that in 3.4, no, 4.0. I think it was 4.0 when they dropped.
Well, I mean, is the Fortune available in game, for example?
Oh, I don't think so. That may be the good example. I don't think it is. And that's been more than 6 weeks.
Yeah, definitely. So there's quite a bit to unpack there. I mean, the idea that they are adding subcomponents into the game that can change the way ships and vehicles work is really cool. And ship customization is good. I do think that it's a little bit iffy with the weapon racks, and we could get into that. I guess that's kind of another thing, but it's nice that like they're working on getting blades into computers for you to be able to kind of mess with your ship a little bit more. I just like I can't get past how perfect it would have been for these to be something you get from Wicklow or or loot from difficult locations like contested zones. Like,
Something you do in game. There's an Invictus event. They did an entire chain of Invictus stories specifically for Invictus. These would have been perfect for a reward for the end of that Invictus chain. Right? Am I wrong? Like,
no,
I
this is
I don't like it. There's plenty of people in the Star Citizen universe who think I'm a white knight, who think I come in riding on the horse and say CIG can do nothing wrong. But as you
bro,
know,
you and me both.
Yeah,
You and me both.
but as we both know, we have problems with CIG. We have lots of problems with CIG. We just often don't make it our entire personality that it's totally wrong. Because we want to. I like to look at the bright side of things. I think you try to look at the game. We both like.
It's really easy to feel weird about putting out something negative and then putting out something positive the next day and then putting out something negative after that. So I think it gets people to kind of focus more on one energy. But it's like, no, you don't. You could be angry about one thing and happy about another.
Yeah, we were actually talking about this before. Like, how are we going to do this? Because this sort of was like changed because we had an original plan for what this podcast was going to be. The topic was, and we changed it.
Yeah.
And then you said like, I don't want to be negative. I'm like, let's talk about the Idris. The Idris is great, and it's a great example. The Idris is a great example of how to release a ship. I think they, especially a long-awaited one, they did it really well. It's a little bit more expensive, but like, what we didn't say is that Imperators. Subscribers get access to it.
Dude, it's so expensive.
I think they get it for free though. You can get it as a subscribership. So like, that's a good idea. And that's like, well, yeah, it is a little expensive. I think it's like $20, but $20 to fly a ship around for a month or two, that's not bad. So, and yeah,
it's
obviously it's a scheme
of spaceships.
Yeah. And it's clearly a ploy to get more Imperator subscribers, but it's still like they're at least trying to like meet some things halfway. Like I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. And I try to give CIG leeway, but oh God. Oh man. This is bad. This is the worst. This is like the worst thing they could have done. Especially because this is, I think, the biggest thing of this Invictus. Up until now, other than the Idris, like people were looking for the TAC. I think a lot of people are mixed about the TAC because I like it for what it is, but I think a lot of people were hoping. I think a lot of people were hoping that it was going to be like a super meta sweaty ship, and it's like, yeah, it wasn't that. But so some people were upset about it. And I heard multiple people in my own Discord were like, they're not going to do well this year. Like none of the ships are really exciting. I'm like, yeah, the Asgard's kind of exciting, and people like the TAC, so And then they released the Idris, and I was like, there we go. the Idris is the answer, and plus the Idris upgrade kits, and I'm like, there we go. But other than that, I think the biggest thing, the thing that I was super excited for, were these equipment packs. The blades were nice, and I'm definitely looking forward to that as well. But one of the things it's kind of sad, but at least the thing that was neat is that they have bomb racks. You can swap out your missiles for bombs. And I was like, that's neat. That's cool. It means that you can have more bombs. You can have more bomber attack craft. And I was hoping that they would have one for the Gladiator, because it is a bomber, and it's one of the only bombers that has external like torpedo bomber that has an external missile rack. So I was like, that's great. This would turn the Gladiator into a beast of a ship. And it's not the right size because they have size 4s and you can only work on size 3s. So I was like, yeah, okay, that's not great, but it's all right. That's fine. Like, at least it's there. And then it's like, oh, by the way, the only way you're going to get these bomb racks is if you pay $20. It's like, I'm sorry, $20 for bomb racks? What? Are you serious? And then, oh, don't worry, you will get it at some point in the future. Oh,
they're not available.
They're available in game. You get them in game.
Oh,
but you have to pay for them.
I see.
Like
you
have to pay for the
get
blades.
them in game. Yeah. Listen, about the weapon racks, I do have a question. Maybe you can satiate my fears. I don't think that's the right term. Anyways,
leave your fields.
There it is. There it is. Yeah. That's the one. The weapon racks. I'm a big fan of weapon and ship customization, but I feel like it starts to get to the point where if you can just put a weapon rack or put like a bomber thing on another ship, it kind of starts to break that whole idea that they have of balancing the flight model around the specific roles that ships have, right? Because your gladiator can suddenly, or your gladius can suddenly go from a dogfighter to a bomber. So it's not necessarily flying in the bomb flight profile that they talked about. Now, that could be something that they mean to happen, which leads to like ships doing things they're not supposed to, and lets players get more creative. But I'm kind of finding myself wondering if they can balance around that with all the different ships and combinations that could come from this.
I don't see that being a huge issue because I think a lot of it is probably more along the lines of because if you remember correctly, the original bombing tests, the original test they were doing for bombing
What's with the Gladius?
was the Gladius, and it was just dropping a missile. They just basically dropped the missile to see if the missiles would work as bombs, and I think that's what this was. It was like after they got the bombings to work, they went back to it and said, "This worked really well. Let's see if we can get that to work with regular ships," and it seems to have worked. I think it changes the bombing profile though, because like a size 3 bomb is not the same as a size 5 or a size 10. And when you're getting into that size of size 5 and size 10 missiles, like I can't like what's the size 5? The only missile that I can think is the size 5 missiles is the Freelancer. I think the Freelancer has size 5 missiles. So
I don't know.
So like I don't think there's very many ships that have size 5 and above. And when you get above size 5, it's a torpedo, basically. So unless those torpedo bombers, like the Gladiator and the Harbinger, can swap out their torpedoes for bombs, and they probably can't. I think there will always be a role for heavier bombers because I don't see the size 3 being like a super effective bomb. It's just sort of like there's a structure here, let's blow it up, and it sort of gives you that flexibility. But I also don't know if it's going to matter as much in comparison to like your A1s and A2s, which can just carpet bomb something to death. But I understand the fear, which is like this might break the whole point of having them. But I think they'll balance it more around the explosive damage than they'll balance it around the flight profile, where like you probably have less damaging. I don't think you're bombing a ship on the ground with a size 3 bomb that's going to do any more damage than a size 3 missile, for instance.
But so let's take another example then. Let's say a quantum interdictor. You can put missiles on a Mantis. Can you take the Mantis's quantum interdiction kind of style and put it in some kind of a component that can go on to, I don't know, an M50?
I don't think so.
But how do we know they won't? We didn't think that they were going to just make bombs able to be attached to a Mantis, right?
Yeah, but the difference between, say, like a Mantis and or like an M50 and a Mantis, is that the Mantis has a bespoke, like quantum interdiction device, and I imagine that the CIG, especially with engineering, is going to make it so that the power regulation for that device is super important and is built specifically for the Mantis. That's an easy balance. Like maybe you can stick like a bespoke or like a not a bespoke, like a little device onto an M50 that works as a quantum interdictor. I can't imagine it won't work nearly as well as the Mantis or the Blue or any other ship that has a quantum interdiction on it, and it might also blow the ship up or like cause you to be basically useless for the ship role it was supposed to be.
Yeah,
it's like personally, I'd love for the idea of a portable interdictor that you can just stick into the back of a Freelancer and turn on. That would be cool, in my opinion. And also burn out really quickly. So you don't have to buy a bespoke one, but the bespoke ships are better because you can reuse them. And I see this as more of a give you options. And so you don't have to get the dedicated one, but the options aren't going to be nearly as effective as the dedicated one. Size 3 bomb is never going to be as effective as the size 5 or a size 10, but you can use it. You can have the option to.
Yeah, so. I do agree with you there, and I see it the same way. I can't help but feel like it's getting, for lack of a better word, bloated. Like, from now we have changeable like weapon systems, changeable components, AI blades, flight blades, power systems that can be changed up. You got Maelstrom damage system that's going to be making things a lot different. Shield emitters are going to be a thing at one point. There's so many things that are going to add into how a spaceship is supposed to function. And I'm like, can you guys do you even know what like the definition of a cutlass black is anymore when you can change
Yeah.
that much stuff? And that's cool. There are a lot of games that are all about custom spaceships. Like that's a big thing in something like Space Engineers and Starfield. I'm like looking at how they've built Star Citizen this whole time as this very bespoke cinematic sort of like we designed everything space, and I'm like, okay, you guys are giving us more control, but how much of that can the game handle overall long term?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm an agent of chaos. I'm the kind of guy that's like, let's have these nice palettes of ships, like a blank canvas. This is a blank canvas for a ship, and they come in different sizes. This is the canvas that's shaped like a cutlass. This is a canvas that's shaped like an Aurora. This is a canvas that's shaped like an Idris. And then give players the paints and go, have fun, go crazy, and because I like that. And I think that's an MMO thing. Maybe it's a like being a fan of Kerbal Space Program and some of those games where you can see people do some crazy stuff. I personally would love to see someone turn an Idris into like a refueler. It's not designed as a refueler, but
I could somehow, that's not crazy. You could just fill the whole hangar with fuel pods.
Yeah, and then just like string out a refueling rope out the back and have people like fuel it up and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Or turn it into turn a Kraken into or no, even better, like turn a Cutlass Black into I'm trying to think what Drake hasn't done with the Cutlass, to be honest. Turn it into a racer. Turn the Cutlass Black into a racer. Like strip everything out, just stick big thrusters on the back of that thing and make it go fast. Like, sweet. It's going to be the worst racer you've ever seen, but that thing's going to go fast,
Yeah.
Turn an Aurora into a gunship, like go crazy. Who cares? Like, in my opinion, I think those sorts of things make games fun and they make things engaging, especially with sandbox games, because sometimes you can accidentally create a meta ship. But like, okay, just change the meta a little bit.
So that's what ends up coming of this is like they're always basically changing the balance, which they've never really done a great job of it already. Explainable. I mean, it's understandable. It's not even a released game technically, but that is what I think is like. This is just going to lead to a lot of maintenance and trying to like, oh, somebody figured out this about this ship. Let's make sure to balance it a little bit so that everybody's not using it again, which is cool. If you can afford to do that and you can do it, this game's going to be even more powerful being so customizable. I'm just like, let's just make sure it can.
Yeah, I get it. I also, but that's also like how games work, especially multiplayer games work these days. Like League of Legends is famous for this, where they just intentionally create a meta and then break it 3 months later, because they just want people to try different things. So like if you use this one character because they're meta and then it no longer becomes meta, maybe you found some weird way you can work with this character and make them a little bit better. I don't play League. This is more of me absorbing the, thoughts and feelings of League players, which is dangerous. Do not do that, because the League players are not stable individuals. And you know what I mean, League players who are watching this. But it's a tactic that's been taken by Overwatch. It's been taken by Call of Duty. It's a tactic that's been taken by tabletop games. I play Warhammer 40K, and they famously change the meta up every 3 or 4 months with the same way, where they just the game pieces that aren't being used, they make them better, and the game pieces they're using really well, they nerf them. So they constantly rotate them through, so people are always trying something new. So that way it doesn't get stale. So I mean, I think even after release they'll do that. So maybe that's because I come from that direction of things, and I'm like, cool. Let's make the Aurora the meta ship of the week. I'll be fun. That'd be fun. Let's take the Herald and make that thing the meta. Why not?
Yeah.
But
so
I get the idea of like, we want to get a game first. Let's get a game before we start rotating the meta out. But
yeah, I mean, it's hard to even try and tell CIG what they should be doing. Only they know, and it's really just us trusting them to make the best decisions at the time that they're at. And
that's hard after what they did with the freaking blades.
Yeah, well, that's the freaking crazy part. It's like this year, I think everybody was sort of thinking, hey, seems like they are starting to understand that they like make the game play well and people are spending more money. Yeah, they're releasing vehicles every month, but keep doing that. They released the Idris with this Invictus week. Like they are primed, the game's going well, and they seem to be on this path. And then they just like they come out of nowhere and they're like, oh yeah, but here's blades and you gotta spend money for it. Do you think there would like how do you think this would have been taken if they weren't put on the store?
I think people would have forgotten about it. Honestly, if they were sold, if they weren't sold and they were just left for people, I think people would find unique things to do with them. Probably a handful of people would actually use the blades. I still don't think many people will use the blades because
Neither do I. Yeah.
The bonus is just like 2%, and it's like there are some negative downsides. It's like it means that you can go forward faster, but you slow down slower. So it's like,
Yeah.
But I don't see them. I see these as being an experiment, as them adding subcomponents beyond, the first edition of subcomponents they haven't done. And I know they're going to be doing some stuff with like, what is the big thing? They're going to be doing IFCS. You and I have been both reading the monthly reports. We know that they've been messing with the IFCS system in the last couple of months. They've been talking about like how the actual flight mechanics are going to be much more tunable and tweakable so that you can basically turn everything off when it comes to IFCS, and it can still like flight mode off for elite. And so I think this is sort of like them adding stuff to that so that they can, when they do tweak out the IFCS system, you can tweak it out and then still have that boost, and so you have a little bit more control. I see that's sort of the direction, but I don't think this would have been a big deal. I think most people would have been like, some people would play with it. Other people would see it as a milestone for what it is. And I do think that people would probably be happy. Like this is a negative, an overall negative, not a positive of what they're doing. You just have to see. I mean, I don't 100% trust Spectrum, but just see the reaction in Spectrum. Last I checked, it was like 80 people had upvoted.
It's freaking Blue Sky. It's Twitter. It's Reddit. It's Spectrum. It's
I think the Reddit mods pinned one of the biggest people were mad about it, and they pinned it, which is just like, if this is being sold, everything is going to be monetized. You're going to have to pay $30 to get a magazine refill. This is some Bobby Kotick, Activision, like a Dark Age EA level monetization. It is egregious in terms of what they're doing.
It's a weird choice because, like you said, I don't think for most people this is all that substantial. That's a very good point. It's just for combat. It's just for 10 different ships. It's really not gonna. Most people won't even probably hear about this who play Star Citizen, which is then it's just like, well, then why take this opportunity to kind of besmirch some goodwill that you've been building up over the last few months? Because there's also just the fact that like these blades.
It's a weird hill to die on, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel weird about it.
Why did they make the decision? That's a good question. And I can tell.
Well, it's like you said.
But
it's like you said. Over the last few months, engineering has been coming together more. Monthly reports have been saying. First, we saw they were working on, I can't remember what, but some component in like February, January. Then in March or February, we saw they were working on coolant and how that functions. And we saw it's like, okay, they got that figured out. Now they're moving on to the next one. And then we started to see things about blades. And you're like, okay, the next component they're moving on to is computers. So we'll see things about AI blades, and that'll continue on. But this is just like, it's so out of left field that suddenly it's a monetized thing when components have never really been.
Yeah. I can walk you down the primrose path of what I think happened, because I am not somebody who immediately thinks that CIG, anything CIG does, is malicious. I am much more of the opinion that never associate maliciousness that you can easily associate with incompetence. And I think what we're seeing here is fundamentally what I call corpo rot or institutionalized rot, where I believe that CIG has set a cadence rhythm with their staggered development, where there is a team that is lagging behind or around the same time as the regular release team, but a team that's like deals with the economy and deals with like actual balance and stuff like that when it comes to what ships are going to be tuned at. And they used to be at like 3 months or maybe 6 weeks, but they're a couple months behind the main release.
Yeah.
And I think they got into that cadence of this team just sort of coming that behind a release and sweeping up what they can and releasing the stuff for sale in the stores, that they just immediately did, hey, we want to sell these. Why? Because it's a thing we're going to do into Invictus. We've been selling armors, and that's been working well. People bought the ATLS. People loved the Heartseeker upgrade. Like everyone bought the Heartseeker upgrade. So like, let's just keep doing that because it's working. And then said, okay, well, that works. Let's just do the same thing we always do, which is we'll make it available down the line. Not thinking about this at all. They didn't understand the difference between the Heartseeker upgrade and everything else, is that people saw the Heartseeker upgrade as being like a neat, one-of-a-kind skin with a cool like turret. But it was, I think most people bought it because of the skin. And, maybe the turret is a unique, like, little change thing, but I don't see it as being like a fundamental shift in like how the game was supposed to work. I saw it as a one-off. And I think CIG just didn't realize what they were doing. They just assumed it was going to be like everything else, like everything else they sell and everything else they do, where people, come back a couple months later, they'll clean it up and they'll release it in the game. Balance ships out to make sure they're more fair, all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
This is just not incompetence, but laziness. This is CIG getting into a rhythm and then not realizing when they hit the rhythm at the wrong pace that, wait, what's going on? The problem is, I think, is that CIG got into a bad habit. And that bad habit has been this, we're going to fix this later. We're going to do this now and fix this later. And now they're monetizing that. And it's worked, so they kept monetizing that. And what they should be doing is they should be releasing everything day one. They release a ship, that ship should be out available for people to purchase in game or earn in game day one. Release armors or equipment, same thing. It should be the case because that's release thing. Most games that have these sorts of pay structures have something in the line where you can buy it right away in game, or you can earn it. You earn it in game, or you can buy it with a pass. Maybe you get a special skin with it, which you buy it with the skin.
That's actually something that I think Jared said briefly on the Star Citizen Live last week, that like they have to delay bringing it into the game because the people who paid money have to get it first or something like that. He I think sort of implied that it was a legal thing.
I don't know if it's a legal thing because they don't do that. They don't do that with Invictus or IAE ever, because you can get, I guarantee you can go get the MTC right now in game for free for a day because you can rent it, right? Because it's available for purchase or for rent. That's the way they've always been, where you can, even the ships that are on the floor right away, you can rent them for a day while it was out. So I don't see that being a legal issue. I see that if that's a legal issue, that's the weakest excuse I've heard.
Yeah, that's why I was like, interesting.
I think it's just laziness. I think it's just they got comfortable. They've gotten comfortable with this cadence and release, and it's worked, and they're afraid to change it because if they change it, it could not work. Notice how frightened they were at the beginning of the year when they're like, we're not going to focus on features, we're focusing on other things. They don't want to change too many things too quickly because they're afraid that if they change things, they either may not make as much money or, heaven forbid, lose money from making a change decision that was working. That's sort of the corporate mindset as well. It's already working. Why do we change it if it's already working? Why do we don't just change things for the sake of changing things? We need to change things if it's not working.
That's
the problem.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. That's actually really funny because that's kind of in line with the thing people say about like, why would they ever finish the game? It makes so much money in development.
Yeah. And I think the thing is that CIG also seems to have realized that they need to finish the game, because it's clear that Squadron's coming out next year. From all the sources I've talked to and everywhere I look, it's like, no, it's coming out because they have to come out. And I think the same way with 1.0, like their presentation with Citizen Con and all of their actions seems to be, we're cutting this, we're moving this around, we're focusing on 1.0 release. And even if that's 2027, 28, 29, they're focusing on that end goal now. They have a plan.
Mm-hmm.
Which is weird, because you think, well, if you know 1.0 is coming out soon, you're probably going to have to change your monetization scheme, because if you're looking for a wider acceptance, people generally are going to balk at the idea of paying $1,500 for a digital spaceship. No one wants to spend a rent payment or half a rent payment on a digital spaceship, especially for a game they may not like. So, like, it's clear that they're going to have to move that direction. I think the community has known this forever, that they're going to have to change. This isn't a sustainable forever thing. They're going to have to do something in the future to improve their monetization flow. They lost $20 million 2 years ago. They probably lost money last year, because last year's revenue was not nearly the same as the one 2 years ago. 2 years ago was their best year ever, and they lost $20 million. So, like, it's clear that they're moving in a direction that they need to move in a direction away from that, but it seems like they don't want to. Their solution is the same thing we've been doing, but more stuff. We've been selling ships. Why can't we sell components? I think which is the direction, which is not understanding why people purchase ships in the first place. Not because it was like, we want to buy ships. It was often more like, this is cool, and or I want to support the game. No one thinks a cooler is cool. You know, like, no one thinks a jump drive is cool. It's just a jump drive.
Yeah, this floppy disk looks cooler than the other one. I'm going to buy this.
It's also
like you said, it's if this is experimental stuff that they're working on to function, factor into the flight model, into engineering, this is the kind of thing that has not like a big effect on gameplay. I mean, even people have been telling me that as like the defense. Why are you freaking out about this right now? This doesn't have a big effect on us. This isn't going to change anything. And I'm like, yeah, so then why put it behind a paywall and instead of putting it in the game where you can get more testing data out of it, you can get more hands-on with it, and you can get a little goodwill with the community on continuing a trend that you've already said over the past 5 months of continuing to improve the game while also selling people a whole bunch of spaceships.
Mm-hmm.
They're straight to flyable ships too, man. Like, go back to 2018 when we were getting concepts constantly, and it's like, this is a much better model, yet still you're tripping during the best week of the year for you.
Yeah, it's a cell phone. It's an own goal. I don't understand why, but I don't know. I mean, the only thing I can, again, it doesn't seem like this is worth blowing up goodwill for, which is why logically and rationally, like, even if you were the most MBA, most business minded, most brain rot business major of all time, like, this doesn't seem like the hill you die on. Like, flight plates is the hill you die on, you know, like, that doesn't seem logical at all. Especially when you're selling a $1,500 spaceship alongside it. So, to me, it's got to be not maliciousness, but incompetence. It's got to be like, we got used to this rhythm. We used to selling stuff like this. It's working. Why change it? And that means it's a culture problem, and that CIG has to fundamentally change their culture to improve of it. But like,
and it's one that it's been brewing. I mean, I think that they got a healthy dose of warning from the community at the Atlas launch. That one was like, it was a different kind of tractor beam, but we already had tractor beams, so it's not really, you're not getting that gameplay really limited too much.
Yeah.
But
they did it with the Vulture, and they did it with the Pioneer when it first came out. Like, the Pioneer, they didn't even have FPS mining. At least with like the Vulture, they had hand salvage alongside the Vulture and the Reclaimer at the same time.
Yeah, and at least those are ships.
Yeah, and you know, so all of this stuff up to this point, like, they've made the same mistake where they pay gated content or pay gated new features. They always learn from that mistake, you know. salvage, they improved it because you could still do hand salvage, even though I don't think you could get the vulture in game because it was released at the same time as salvage. But then, and then the ATLS, they said made the same mistake, but then they made the ATLS available like within like a week,
a couple weeks. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's because you see that and you're like, oh, okay, they get it. They've been going slowly smaller and smaller in these things that they're trying to package into the store. And the ATLS seemed like, okay, this is kind of, you guys are getting a little bit
too granular
there. Yeah. And now we're at blades. What do we get to the point where when we have bases that we need to have consistent resources for, I can just pay $30 to have a water subscription for a month and I don't have to get that water in the game. Like this isn't necessarily a worried about now kind of thing.
No,
it's a slippery slope kind of thing.
This is a bridge too far. This is like I've been saying, this is my Rubicon when it comes to things. Like this is the last straw for me in terms of CIG. What are you doing? Like you need to make a video game. They have to make a video game, and when you make a video game, you play the video game. I know that for a lot of people, especially, no offense to the people watching, I know a lot of you watch the video game and watch talking about the video game more than the video game, but
that's me.
I know Tomato and I both also play the video game pretty much. You play it pretty much daily. Like, you play it
like 2-3 times a week.
I
talk a lot on my stream.
Yeah, I play it, on Saturdays and Sundays. Usually on the weekend. Sometimes I play it on. Yeah, I usually play it on Mondays too. So I usually play like 3 days out of the week for content. I put in a good solid 10, 11, 12 hours, and considering the age of the people who play this, that's probably about what the average person plays. But at the same time, I'd play more if I could earn something I was interested in. I'm sure you'd play more if you could build a base. I'd play more if I could earn a mech. I heard the rumor of being able to earn Wickelow's custom job mech being out there. It's like, you have my interest now, CIG. I will play your game if you can give me said cool mech that I can go kill things with. We talked about, like, even before this, like having places to go with the MTC would make the MTC really playable. I'm sure you have talented artists, you have talented engineers, you have talented gameplay people, producers and animators and community managers and video content creators. You have all these people in your employ who do really good jobs. And we want to play the content they could make. Paygate flight blades? Like, what is this?
It's also like we finally gotten past server meshing, so it actually feels like the things that they talk about we can experience in the game to some level. Like AI will respond, and there are enough players in these larger events to feel like large events. So the game is also at a place like never before in terms of people wanting to explore and enjoy it. And I think it's just like, I know you guys, there are going to be comments, I'm sure, like, we're blowing this out of proportion. You spent so much of this podcast on this topic. And it's not so much that like this is going to kill Star Citizen or anything like that. This is just need to blow the horn a couple times when, like, throughout the development. I think it's just important to put some time towards this because it's good to think about. This is a game that we all want to succeed based off of being a good game, not necessarily just because it's been propped up by good funding.
Mm-hmm. No, I think all of us want to play a good game. At least I hope. And I think that's been my concern, is more of I want a game to play at the end of this route. This is, I don't see this as sort of like the end of the universe. Like Flight Blades isn't the end of the universe. I find it actually really weird that this is the thing that they decide to break me with, but like they decide to break me with the Flight Blades, which I didn't even care about. Like, okay, it's a worrying trend that I think needs to be addressed in a way that is sharp enough for CIG to go, hey, maybe you made a mistake. Maybe you just didn't think about this. You should probably think about this and correct this direction in the future. So we can see the game that we all want to see. That I know your developers are working hard, long hours, and thinking about and arguing and collaborating and creating together for, spending their lives doing this. I know they want us to play the game and enjoy it.
Yeah.
They built it. I feel really bad for the people who made the Idris and the people who made the flight blades. Like they probably spent a lot of time and effort, meetings and design documents, and like time testing it and working with other parts, like maybe working with the ship team, making work with the gameplay team, with the economy team. These meetings and balance everything out. And the thing that people are going to remember now is this is the thing that CIG wants you to pay $20 for. Like, not the actual gameplay, but the money. And that's the problem. It's like, I don't want to talk about the money. I want to talk about the cool things that people doing with their Auroras or their Idrises or their, Valkyries. I want to talk about the mech you can unlock at Wicklow. Like, that's the thing I want to talk about. I think that's what we all want to talk about. And I think they need to move away from this type of thing. They need to start thinking about this game as actually treating it like a release game, like any other developer might treat a release game, or a good developer, because it's not. They're
getting closer.
They are, and I also want to point out a couple of things, like Helldivers 2. They continue to monetize their game with packs that you can pay for, or you can earn it within game. They earn those packs within game money if you play the game a lot. It's really balanced really cleverly, because if you're just a casual player, it's very difficult to get enough money to unlock one of those packs. So it's very tempting to just go, it's like a couple bucks. I'll take it, And they release one every 3 months or so. Sometimes it's every month, but usually it's like every couple months. Mm-hmm. So if you really like it, you can just go, here's a little bit of money, and I'll go play with it a little bit longer. But if you're a really hardcore player, you can unlock all of them if you play a lot. And then there's my wife really likes Stardew Valley. Made a game by the name made by one dev named Concerned Ape. Concerned Ape recently basically built a brand new game. Took Stardew Valley and dropped enough content that was basically a brand new content, turning Stardew Valley into a brand new game for free. And what do both of these games have in common? They're making tons of money. Like, Concerned Ape did all of this, and then suddenly, because of the goodwill of dropping a huge content update for free, people were buying copies for their friends. They were talking about it to other people to try to convince them. It got more tractions in social media. It got more attention. It got more love, and it got more money. Like, we don't live in the environment of 2012 anymore. We're in 2025, and in 2025, how you sell games is through goodwill, is through showing the gaming community you care enough about your game. There's an entire ARG that was being done with Helldivers that people were interested in to launch one of their new packs. It was just a nice little thing they did here and there to connect people, to get people involved in the universe and reminded about the game. Like, it doesn't take a lot. It just takes the right sort of knobs to twist, and it's not $20 flight plates. I hate to go back to it, but it's the point.
It's also part of just being a game too. It's like word of mouth does a lot for you when you become a game, when you get released, when journalists are covering you, when your name is showing up in different kinds of lists than it does when you've been in development for 12 years without a finished released game to show for it. So I think it definitely helps them out, just having that kind of goodwill. And there's one big example you missed in the same genre that's been going for like a decade. Yeah. That's the big one, man. They keep releasing their updates for free, and people keep buying the game because, you know what? Somebody else is building a new computer or buying a new game console every single day. Yeah. Like, people will be like, oh, everybody who's going to play Squadron 42 has already bought it. And like, there are people who were literally in diapers when Squadron 42 was announced that are now able to go and buy it, who probably know nothing about it, because that's just how it is. So earning those people in.
People who play Star Citizen who don't know what Squadron 42 is. There may be people watching this video right now. It's like, Squadron, what? What is this you're talking about?
Yeah, it's true. And it's like, earning those people, that's what you need to do. Yeah, keep making money from the people who are there, but like, show people the direction you're going in. I feel like this is kind of more the direction that they've been moving away from. Well, maybe we want them to move away from.
I think it's they want to too. I think it's also important to remember that this isn't the decision of, Joe Schmo developer. This isn't the decision of the people who made the flight blades. This is the decision of management. Management made this decision for whatever reason. I think it's just laziness, but they made the decision, and I do think it's a disadvantage. not disingenuous. I know, but it's a disservice to the people who put their time and effort into making this game that you monetize it like this, because it's like now people aren't talking about your cool flight blades; they're talking about your stupid monetization process.
Yeah. I mean, this would have been an entirely different talk, to be honest.
We were literally going to talk about all of the cool things that John Crew was talking about at the Chinese Bar Citizen. Like, I am also looking forward to the differences between Squad 42 and Star Citizen when it comes to the like performance. Like, what is it called? Maelstrom. Yeah. Like, that's a cool topic. I'd love to see like how physics damage is going to work in Star Citizen, because it's probably very different than Squadron, because Squadron has to have levers and pulleys you have to pull to make the game more difficult or less difficult. So you probably have to change things around a little bit. With Star Citizen, it's like, here's the keys, kid, don't die. You know, like I want to talk about that stuff because that stuff is neat. The stuff is cool. It's a video game. Like, I want to be in a situation where I'm talking about the possibility of getting your head blown off in game by a size 10 railgun, but it doesn't blow up your ship. It just puts a giant hole through it. You know, when you sit there and watch a Idris railgun shot go through your constellation, but it's still flying somehow, and you're like, how did that not hit any power plants, like any power cables?
That's, you know? Well, I mean, and they also he specifically said in that Maelstrom was going to be like damage to ships would act differently between Squadron and Star Citizen because of the Maelstrom implementation. And I do wonder, a lot of the things that we have said over time is like, oh yeah, Squadron's getting a lot of the development, but that stuff can move directly over to Star Citizen. Mm-hmm. And now we are getting a statement that is kind of disproving that. Do you think this could be something that happens with more aspects of the game engine across Squadron and Star Citizen?
I think it's not necessarily that it's different or that it's completely different. I think it's just more that it's implemented differently. Because like I see Squadron, when it comes to Maelstrom, is going to be more based around you're doing an adventure game. So someone's going to pick the easiest difficulty, and the easiest difficulty is going to be different from the hardest difficulty. And the easiest way to do it is make enemies bullet sponges, but that's not fun. That's not fun at all. It's like, that's what Bethesda does. And you and I both play Bethesda games, know that that's kind of sucks when you're playing at a higher difficulty, and it's just like, this guy I could kill in one tap in easy mode is now a freaking mob boss. Like, it's just like, I can't kill them. Well, I can get killed easily. Right. They want more levers to pull. They want you to be, in easy mode, yeah, you can take a few hits and you're good to go. But like in hard mode, it's more like Star Citizen, where you take a hit to the power plant, goodbye, you're done. Don't get hit to the power plant, So I see that as more of the way it's implemented. It's the same tech, but the way it's implemented is going to be different from the tech in Squadron, from the tech in Star Citizen. So same chassis, same engine, different tuning.
Do you think it'll complicate things?
Yeah, oh yeah. It's going to make it harder to implement in Star Citizen than it will be in Squadron. But I also think that once it's implemented in Star Citizen, it'll be a little bit easier, because once it's done, it's done. It just requires a little bit tweaking here and there. But the fundamental shape, the Maelstrom that is in Squadron, is the same that's in Star Citizen. It's just tweaked differently.
There were a lot of like vehicle features and stuff that John did talk about at that Star Citizen Live. This would be, for those who are watching this early, supporters, you guys can now watch this as soon as it's filmed, this time on Thursday. It hasn't happened yet. It happened in Beijing, and now it's going to be posted to the YouTube channel this weekend. So for anybody who's watching this after the regular publish, this is the most recent Star Citizen Live. And there are a lot of things talked about in terms of vehicles there, feature development, just kind of like interesting topics. How excited do you think people should actually be for that stuff, though? Like, this is still feature development. Is it multiple years kind of stuff? Is it past the end of this year, in your opinion?
This is where I'm going to put on my my hopium hat.
Oh boy! I have to
make a hopium hat. Okay, here's my.
Oh boy!
Okay, here's my.
Yeah, I've gone through like 7 of those, dude.
All right, here's my hopium hat. All right.
Merc.
My America hat is my hopium hat. All right, so hope. I think it's this year. I think all of this comes in this end of this year, early next year. Like Maelstrom, I don't think it's coming out this year, but I have a feeling that Maelstrom comes out next year. I think one of the major reasons why, and no one's going to take me seriously with my hopium hat on, so I'm taking it off. I think the reason why we don't see it a lot of the stuff now, because it's clearly they're working on it. You read, you and I both read the monthly reports, so and I know you've done videos, so I know your viewers have seen the monthly reports. My video viewers have seen the monthly reports. They're clearly working on the features. They're doing a lot of work on the features right now. It's just not ready for prime time because they still got to get the back end working and they got to get all these other things working for Star Citizen. So I think they'll have a weird situation where at the end of this year, when they're sort of like, okay, everything's stabilized to a degree, we're ready to go. They're going to go flop and put in like 6 new features that will be ready to go. Maybe not all of them will be completely in because they have to be tested and such, but we'll get the stuff we were supposed to get: engineering, scanning, and maybe Nix. I think we'll still see Nix, but I don't think any of the stuff they talked about. It's the hopium, man. All right. I saw in the last month report they said the narrative team was working on new locations, and I'm like, Nix. This is Nix. It's coming out. I think that's it. That's the answer. It's Nix. We're getting Nix. I even mentioned weather in the last monthly report, that they're working on weather in storms and stuff like that. So
I think honestly at this point it's just after having 5 updates now, 4 updates this year without really any significant even hints at those things coming out, it is harder for people to think that they might happen, myself included. Like I'm sitting here thinking, yeah, this monthly report progress is looking great, but it's been looking great for 3 years. I'm not going to tell people it might be coming soon anymore because who knows? It's all over the place right now. It's good. They're doing well. It's just meandering.
I get it. Like the AI thing. I think you and I have also been seeing the AI stuff where like for years they've been like, AI can use weapons now. They can target vehicles and vehicles can now target ships and ships can target. And it's like, cool. Like they're moving, like when Maelstrom happens and like their cover gets blown, they move and they flank. And it's like, I think recently a lot of that stuff has started added in, but like they talked about the flanking and different behavior stuff back in 2022. So like 3 years ago, and it's just now being implemented. So I can see that being like, they've talked about this a lot, but it takes a while for them to implement. The thing that I think is a little different is that engineering was something that was supposed to come out with 4.0. So I think it's ready or beyond ready for prime time now. It's just the game base isn't yet. So they're just waiting for them to get the green light to say, we're good to go. Which I think is getting closer. My theory is that next month we'll see a lot of that stuff in testing, and it'll get shoved off into its own EPTU so that people can test it a little bit more.
Dude, I hope.
Stuff. Again, that's my hopium. My more pessimistic side, I couldn't tell you. Maybe next year.
Dude. Just looking at the list of things that were touched on in this video, we've got ship and component balancing, weapon damage types, engineering, Maelstrom, control surfaces, jerk, modules, ship reworks, living quarters. It's a lot of, take out the ship reworks, that's not really part of that category, but like that is a lot of things related to ships that need to come in and be tested. And I think we should be seeing in the EPTU this summer at the earliest or at the latest.
If CIG is smart about it, they'll do it. And maybe it's not June, but I really hope it's soon because it's one of those like, and I'm not of the Jesus patch believer of like there's gonna be one patch that comes everything, that puts everything in and it becomes perfect. But it's hard for me to not hope for a big patch towards the end of this year that has the stuff that was missing from 4.0. There'll always be people who are like, this was supposed to come out last year. But it's like I actually prefer that they kind of did this because this is also them responding to everybody else being like, make the game function, and so they're doing it. And I do think it's working. I do think it's working.
It's
like it's the balance, features versus playability. And CIG is like, we'll get everybody tells us to make your game playable. We'll make the game playable. And there'll always be people who are like, I fell through the planet. Game sucks. And it's like, yeah, it's gonna do that until beta. But hopefully it's not happening every time you arrive at the same location like it has in the past. Like I've only fell through the planet once in the last 6 months, which is the freaking big start. It's good compared to what it used to be. My ship still gets eaten by the hangar every time I call it up, and hopefully it gets fixed. But once that becomes
yeah, that'd be great if that got fixed.
But
yeah, they're getting there and they're making progress, but there's still definitely some things that need to be figured out. And selling flight blades, I didn't think was one of them. But tell me this to finish off: what are some other things, or maybe even news drops or information, if you think that we will get any more, that you are hoping or looking forward to seeing during Invictus week?
Ooh, Invictus. Okay. They mentioned the Kraken in that update and how that's going to have to be a reconcept. That I hope we get a little bit more information on the Kraken. But I think the big one is an update on the Ironclad and the Perseus. Because there's so many people who thought that the Ironclad and the Perseus were coming this Invictus. I don't think either of them. Well, I know the Perseus isn't, but Ironclad probably isn't either. So if those two aren't coming, and those were big anticipated ships to be released, I think I'd like to know a little bit more about those, and I think we will. I think we'll see. They'll talk about the Perseus because they've already hinted at the Perseus here and there, and the Ironclad is one of those big ones they've been talking about. So I think those are the biggest ships related stuff. I'm hoping that we get an update on Maelstrom because they've mentioned it a bunch of times, so they're talking about it and working on it. And I mean, not to be dead horse, but engineering, obviously. And my thing has always been scanning, because like scanning, they have been talking about it in monthly reports forever.
So much.
But outside of the monthly reports, it's just nothing. Like, I don't think they've mentioned it once outside of 2023 CitizenCon. The Scout, the Cutter Scout, they mentioned it, and then they showed off that graphic, and then they used the same basic graphic for, was it the Terrapin Medic? I think that they used it for one other ship where it was like scanning, and that was it. That was the tracker. I think it was a Hornet tracker they used it for, and that was it. And I'm like, okay.
They've always been very cagey about that.
Yeah, it's weird because it's not been cagey about the FPS scanning stuff, but it's like it's the regular scanning that they've just sort of been not talk about it, which is weird because it's like I think it's as big a feature, if not bigger, than engineering.
Oh, it's huge.
Because it's so vital for so many different gameplay points that for them to just kind of be quiet about it, except for the monthly reports, makes me go like, what's going on? So I'm hoping they do a little bit on scanning and being like, hey, this is what we've been working on. So
that would be nice. You know what I'd also really love, and I feel like we would have seen in the sprint report, is like a dev test of control surfaces and engineering combined. I know I'm kind of, I probably, people who follow my content closely probably think I have like an unhealthy obsession with this, but the idea of how ships have to maintain their altitude in an atmosphere, like with their thrusters, whether they're VTOL or not, whatever that is, I really want to see how ships suffer under duress as they start slowing down, as they stall, as their thrusters start taking on heat. Like, what kind of SFX and VFX is CIG going to give us to show us, hey, my ship is actually kind of struggling here. Hey, I can hear my thrusters firing. I'm wiggling a little bit, because it can get so like cinematic and interesting.
Are you thinking of some sort of hover mode? Sorry,
whatever it was they were trying to do with that.
I have to do it. I am with you on that one. That is such an important update. I think that is another one of those. There's like a couple of what I consider pillars that I don't think CIG really considers pillars. That's one of them. And that's really engineering, but it's also Maelstrom. It's also like surface controls. It's all of these combination, all these different things that they've been working on to make it more, to make the ships more engaging and dangerous.
Yeah.
And I cannot wait for the day when somebody goes, I'm going to point my Gladius at the floor and shoot this guy, do that, and then hear and then the ship tips over and they spin down to the ground and blow up and be like, what happened? It's like, that's not how physics works, dude. Your two little MAV thrusters on the front aren't going to be able to hold up your whole freaking ship.
I'd love that. Yeah. So do you think that we're going to get another Star Citizen Live during this Invictus, or you think they're done with the interviews and now we'll just get a couple like behind the ships or some whatever else they're doing this year?
I think we're going to get at least one or two more videos. I think like not so live. Star Citizen not so lives. The little just pre-recorded things. I think so.
All right. Whatever it might
maybe
be.
not, because we won't know until Monday, because it's the last one. So
right. All right. One more thing. The Galaxy, the RSI Galaxy.
Okay.
So you wanted to talk about the Perseus coming out. I think that's end of year. What do you think is going to end up happening with the Galaxy, though?
Man, I don't know. Like, Galaxy is such a weird place, because if this was before the conversation where the Galaxy is not a base builder came up, I would have said, yeah, easy, Perseus, Galaxy, Arastra. But now I think CIG is going to try to sweep the Galaxy away for a bit. They're going to just push it off until they can get the Arastra done. I think it's the Perseus and the Arastra, and then the Galaxy after that.
You think the Galaxy's just too hard?
No, I think there's just too many other spots they need to figure out, because one of the big modules for the Galaxy was the refining module. So you've got the refining module, and the other one is the medical module, and the medical module is just going to use the same palette, the same asset pack as the Apollo, and they're redesigning the Apollo's medical bay and basically reconcepting the medical bays and reconcepting the cockpit. So that means that they have to get the Apollo out, and they have to get refining out before they get that. And that means they're probably gonna have to get the Expanse, the stupid name, out as a ship and get that working properly. And I think
I don't know, man. I bet they introduce a new straight to flyable refining ship instead.
I bet you they'll do that. I bet you they'll do a straight to flyable medium refining ship from RSI, because they need to get an RSI refiner. And so I think that's the thing. It's like, I think they have to get the Apollo, and I think you're right. Honestly, as much as that is probably a little joke, I think that's almost certainly true. They're going to release, but I also think that they've been releasing a bunch of MISC ships, the Starlancer, and that sort of that direction they're moving. So
yeah, I
could see them also getting the Expanse and a medium RSI refiner at the same time to introduce refining as a gameplay loop. And that will all need to be done before they can even start the Galaxy. So, and that also is required for the Odyssey, because if you need the Odyssey, you need to have all that stuff too.
Yep.
And I think that's their focus, because again, I think they've been doing this 1.0 focus. So I think even the ship teams are like, what are we doing in 2 years? What are we doing with 1.0? We need to have this ship, this ship, this ship, and this ship. And the big ships they're looking at are the Orion, the
Pioneer,
the Kraken, and the Pioneer, the Orion, the Kraken, and the Odyssey. Those are the 4 big ships that they have to worry about. And that's RSI, or Consolidated Outland, RSI, or Drake, RSI, and MISC. And those are the 4 manufacturers they're focusing on right now: the Consolidated Outland, RSI, Drake, and MISC. And so I think with that, I see the Galaxy as maybe a next year ship if
not
they
a
get
priority,
refined.
though. Yeah,
not a priority. Yeah,
I see. Well, I'm looking forward to what happens for the next for the rest of the year. I'm besides this stumble with the flight blades and the weapon packs. I think that the direction that Star Citizen is headed in, while it's a little questionable in terms of like where are the consequences going, what's going on with things like reputation and respawning, questions there. But I think things are going swimmingly in terms of like reinvigorating this game to be interesting to play. And I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with 4.2.
I'm with you.
Any last thoughts from you about Invictus Week so far, how the game is going?
I think that this is probably one of the best Invictuses they have ever done. The floor looks great. The change in rotation is fantastic. The theming is awesome. The release of the Idris is a great time.
They released the Idris.
Like everything is good with this.
Invictus Week is wild this year. Like this is actually the most wild one, and for good and bad reason.
It's great, and then just really bad. Like it's this weird sort of dynamic where they're doing everything right in a way that I think, oh my God, this summer's going to be nuts because CIG is going to be releasing a patch in June, and that June patch is going to be on the heels of this patch, and it's going to have the Idris, and we're going to have new story content. I mean, I didn't even talk about how they're like the mission givers are in game now. Like when you talk to a mission giver, they pop up in your screen talking to you, and it's like they're a little weird looking. There's some bugs there.
Need to get the old ones working now.
Yeah, like they're doing some cool stuff in 4.11, and like I'm on board, except for this flight thing, this flight blade thing. That's it. And I hope it's just a small bump, and they retreat from this and they take the right lessons. They learn for once. Don't do this. And we're not having the same conversation at IAE. And I think we may have to remind them not to do this again. While on the run up to CitizenCon and IAE, hey, remember when you did this stupid thing with the flight blades? Don't do it again.
Well, I hope. I feel like we end up saying that every once in a while, but yeah, very, very pleased with what's going on outside of that. I mean, we didn't even talk about physical currencies are coming to the game. You can earn ships in the game without buying them now. Like you can get components in different places. There are sandbox opportunities. It's just it's healthy. These kinds of things just really undermine it.
Yeah. There's a lot of good things going. It's just sad that we have this bad thing.
Yeah. All right, man. Thank you so much for talking with me about this stretch of subjects. Honestly, I hope everybody was able to get through the negative parts if you don't like that and still hear like the things that we enjoyed about this week so far. I think there's still a lot coming for Invictus week. Hopefully the servers can hold up because I think they're running fairly well right now.
Yeah. Outside of the Invictus area, like Invictus area, like
I haven't been there. Yeah,
but like everywhere else seemed fine. So,
all right, man. You want to let them know where they can find more of your content?
Twitch.tv/TheAstroPub, YouTube.com/TheAstroPub Live, YouTube.com/TheAstroHistorian, and YouTube.com/@TheCaptain's Table Podcast. It's my goal by the end of the year to have more channels than Space Tomato, which I don't think I can do. Every time I add one, he's gonna add one. So
I don't want any more. It's enough. It's quite enough. I wish YouTube would just make it easier to have one channel for everything, but
yeah, just do a channel and then have sub channels that we can then upload to, and then easy, please.
All right, man. Thanks again for joining me. Everybody, thanks for listening. Hope you're enjoying the podcast. If you've joined recently, if you've been around for a while, thank you for supporting. As I mentioned, we now have memberships on the second channel for anybody who wants to catch this podcast early. It's posted over there. All of our supporters on any platform can also catch that on the Discord. And finally, supporters, y'all can come and listen live. I see you in chat having a good time, and we appreciate you. Thank you again, everybody, for checking out the Launch Sequence podcast. Hopefully you're getting some good info and entertainment from it. I'll see you next week.